I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time. Welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James, and I am so excited to be with you every week because I get to introduce you to extraordinary women that are game changers on this planet, that are stepping into their power and making a difference for themselves, for their families, for their communities, and for humanity. We come every week. We're on Spotify and iTunes and Amazon. Please go in, look for Women Awakening, and subscribe. Come back every week and meet somebody else that can inspire you and light up your heart. So today, I get to introduce you to my friend. I think she's actually an angel walking on earth, but we'll talk more about that later. she has, her name is Erica Teel. She's been involved in improvisational theater since 2005, and she participated in this 2-day workshop presented by Alan Arkin. I happen to have been there. And when she reflects on it, she says, it felt like I waited my whole life for that weekend. I totally fell in love with improv. And what I want to say is we watched her fall in love. We watched her brilliance just leap into the room, and we were all in awe, right? So she has been taking improv classes since then in Denver, participated in workshops and trainings, and presented by numerous improv luminaries. Now, here's the thing, though. She has performed with several groups, including her acclaimed duo Improv Leap. We'll talk a little bit about that. She's also presented workshops and classes and entertainment at conferences, businesses, parties, and cruise ships. She says the gifts of improv are far-reaching and life-changing. She delights to see her students' faces light up as shifts begin to happen because she has the ability to make everyone feel welcome and at ease. She's been teaching since 2007. She's been a speaker at my conference, and I watched her just bring a whole audience into relaxation and heart, right? She is after she co-founded Improv Leap with her partner, Joshua, they did a lot of work. And now she takes her work to the world via Erica Teel Enterprises, LLC. And we're going to talk about that. But I want you to know that she's also a spiritual practitioner. She's certified in human design. She has lived with her husband for 34 years and delights in her family, including 5 grandchildren. Oh, and let us not forget the puppy, Milo. So, Erica, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, Cynthia.
Well, I just really want to talk a little bit about where you came from. Because, I'm sure you weren't a 5-year-old going, well, I'm going to grow up and be an improvisational leader.
Right. No, so I grew up, my mom is from New York City. My dad is from Arkansas. Don't even ask how that happened. But so it was interesting because I really grew up in the Midwest. And my mom brought us girls the gift of her seeing so much theater in New York and being around that culture. And so even though we were from a teeny town in Missouri, she made sure that we got to see lots of plays, and any play we saw, any movie we saw way more than one more time. We never saw a movie once. She bought the soundtracks. I grew up on a college campus and was instantly drawn to the theater department where I watched college students, and this was as a little kid too, watch them audition. I watched the directors ask them questions, help them move. I watched rehearsals, and my sister and I sat through every performance they ever gave, front row, center, all the time. So we were maniac addicted to theater. We loved it so much. There wasn't really a place for me to get involved because I was a young girl, but I loved that so much. And my sister and I knew every word to every soundtrack we ever owned. And when I say we listened to those albums thousands of times, literally thousands of times. So it was that was the thing that really got me interested and creative and playful through singing and playing just in our house. And we would put on a couple of shows for our neighborhood sometimes. And so that was fun. And so that was my first taste of theater and what that was like.
Yeah. So, okay. So what took so long between the excitement and the enthusiasm there to the Alan Arkin weekend? What happened in between?
A lot. Well, my life then, I got married when I was 19 years old, and then had Justin, my oldest son, a year later, and then Bobby, my other son, 3 years after that. So I was busy being a stay-at-home mom, which was which was actually wonderful. I didn't really have a thought of what I wanted to be or do, or maybe even a thought that I could do it. If I wanted to be an actress or an improviser, I didn't even know what improv was. I didn't know that I had the ability. I didn't know if I could learn it. So I didn't have any big, lofty goals. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher of some kind, but I was not ready at that time. So I got married, had these kids, was playful with them, artsy with them, was out in the sandbox with them, all of that. I had the best time. And then a few years later, Mark, my husband, passed away from leukemia. So he was 27, I was 26, and the boys were 3 and 6 years old. So that was a big life shift. And soon after that, I moved to Denver, Colorado. And about a year later, Roger and I got married. And that was a whole culture shift, too, because I went from a little trailer in Houston, Texas, living there for many years, happy as a clam, didn't know any better, moving here to Denver, and my world kind of opened up. It's like the boundaries expanded. I found spirituality in a way I'd never heard before. I felt like I was in a wonderful community of people and teachings. I felt like my sons were in a safe, good environment. And it just kind of opened me up to that spiritual aspect. And then when our youngest son graduated from high school, that's when I became a spiritual practitioner at our church. And I really dove into that. I didn't know what else to do at the time, and I was being drawn to spirituality. So I went there and loved it. And during all the years I've been with Roger, I've been more in the public eye, more seen than ever before. So that just makes you aware in different ways of how you maybe present yourself or how you learn to speak with people. I'm an introvert, so that didn't come all that easy for me. And then one day that workshop came around and I got a call from the office. Karen Thomas called and said, "Hey, Alan Arkin is doing this weekend workshop. Would you please take it because we need a few more people for it to go?" And I go, "Well, I don't even know what improv is." And she said, "None of us do." I said, "Okay." So I took it. And honestly, it was just playful, and it was so fun. And really a lot of the seeds that were planted back when I was young of watching the students perform and directors and all of that, it just gave me, I think I had a wide playground of experiences to draw on to make it really fun. And then there were those at church that I was so quiet up to then, I guess. They heard I was doing an improv performance and they're like, "Oh, she speaks," so they came to watch me. And then they instantly wanted me to teach because they thought she, she doesn't seem intimidating. She seems like she would be fun and she'd be easy. And I resisted that for a bit. And then I went ahead and started teaching way back when I was still learning really myself. And it just blossomed from there. And then performances came and I met Joshua and we, started Improv Leap and all. So
Well,
it was kind of a slow burn.
yeah, but there's a couple things I want to just interject here, because what you didn't say is that you married someone that was the head of one of the largest New Thought communities in the world. So you weren't just visible in the community, you were visible on the world stage. You were raising your children. And you were being such a loving support for your husband. And when the improv weekend happened, after that, you decided to take classes and we came to see you. And I guess I just want to talk about the fact that, I believe you had a calling when you were little, and that calling, got rebirthed in the class. And then you started taking classes. Were you ever nervous about taking the classes, about stepping out, about being seen doing improv, which is like totally present moment stuff?
Oh, heck yeah, I was nervous. There were many nights of crying on our couch going, I don't know what I'm doing. And several friends in my classes were like literally talking me, down from the ceiling because I was really nervous. When I did that class with Alan, it felt like, yes, this is great. It resonated with my heart and my mind and my soul just so much. And and he told me, don't take classes, just, and I'm like, how do you do this if you don't have an arena to really learn about editing and all the things you have to learn with improv? So I guess I dissed poor Alan. And I went downtown to take a class, and they said it's a 6-week class, except the last class is a performance for your friends and family. And I freaked out in that moment, and instantly my heart closed, and I went to my head like, well, I better do it right. Well, I better know how to play the games. I better be funny. I better be loud enough. I better all that stuff. And it took me literally 6 years to finally understand what I was doing and to stop doing that on a consistent basis. And it was a huge shift because I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed it. And then I had a very love-hate relationship with it. And I think it took so long, and I think it was part of my journey. I think I gained so much out of those years of just struggling, but I kept going back, and it was kind of crazy. And then it lifted. So
Yeah, but what I love about that is it's like, ladies, what I want you to know is just because you have a calling doesn't mean you just burst into freedom and into excellence and then there you are. There's a process. And what I love about what you just said, Erica, is that you just keep going back. You just keep going back. You have the meltdowns on the couch and you go back, and you have the doubts and you go back. And then you have the people in your class say, come on out here and do it again. And you go back because it's a learning curve. It's an opening to doing new things. So then how did you get brave enough to do Improv Leap? I mean, how did that happen? Because now you're going into corporations. Where did that come from, and how did you step into it?
well, that really came from my teacher, Joshua Kirk. And let me just say, my teachers up until Joshua were great, were really great too. It was something about Joshua and the way he was teaching. He was really spotting where I was missing the boat, where I wasn't paying attention to the guidelines of improv. And so I started making progress really fast. And then one day he said to me, I want you and I to do an improv duo on stage. I want us to perform on stage, just us two. And up until that time, I performed with at least 6 other people in a group. So you had a little breathing room. And when it's 2 people, you're on the stage all the time. And I was like, I thought you were my friend. And he just said, when he did it for the first time, his improv went from here to here. He said it was just great. So I said, oh, yes, I will do that. And it was so much fun. It was scarier than heck. And being on the stage that whole time, you really do have to get out of your head. You have to get into the heart and pay attention. And so that's what broke me free into enjoying being on stage. So I was probably 2 years later, he said, why don't we start a company together, and we can take this into businesses, and because we had taught together, just people in classes. He said, we can take this into businesses, into schools, and all of that, because these principles of improv really do translate into those areas. And I said, okay. So we did it. It was a little scary. He took more of the lead because he's a bigger personality and very confident. He's been in front of large audiences before. And I played more of the background. He always encouraged me to come up there, and I just didn't quite do that. And that's how we did it. And we had that company together for, I don't know, 6 years, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So now what happened for Erica Teel Enterprises to be birthed and you to start going another direction where you're the lead?
So So that was a big decision because I adore Joshua so much and we work so well together. So this was nothing about us not getting along or not working between friends. It was about me wanting to really bring my focus in to work with people again in classes. I wanted that to be my focus because that's my passion. The bigger arenas didn't quite, it wasn't quite a match for me to do more of the time. I really do enjoy going to a class where I can be one-on-one with people. I have 10, 15 people, and I'm noticing when a person is kind of backing up like I used to do, and I can step right in and kind of pull them back in an easy way. And also I pull in the principles of improv, and they're the same as life principles, and I get to teach them how to incorporate that into a daily life. So it's not just saying yes on the stage, saying yes in life. It's not
Yes.
just making your scene partner and supporting your scene partner on the stage. It's supporting your scene partner, no matter if it's your spouse or your neighbor or whatever, in real life. And that to me is where I wanted to spend my time doing that. And I felt like sometimes corporations could be where we would go in and some people, they wouldn't even tell their people who was there. And we would walk in and say, we're going to do improv. And half of them would be excited and half would be like, oh man, I left my meeting for this. So I feel like the people that sign up for my classes want to be there. They may be terrified, but they want to be there as opposed to it's an assignment. And that's just where my heart lies.
Well, it's so clear. And whenever I see the pictures of you in your classes, there's just joy on all the people's faces. And so I want to talk to you about timing, because a lot of people feel like a lot of women, they've spent their time with their family and nurturing their kids and growing their kids and their grandkids. And then they feel like, oh, well, maybe it's too late for me to step out and do what I love, or maybe I'm crazy there, so what is it that fueled you to say yes to this inner yearning?
I think that I have had an inner knowing about what I was to do at each stage of my life. And I don't know, I was born with this independent streak, or it was created from my mom and dad, or I don't know. But even when I got married at 19, I thought it was a great idea. Mark thought it was a great idea. I don't know if anybody else in the whole world thought it was really great. And I was just fine with that. I was fine knowing this is what I need to do and this is what I'm going to do. And it was great. I had a great time. We had a great time. It was a great marriage. And then he passed, and then the next thing came along. I stayed in Texas for a little bit. Then I knew it was time to leave. And I came to Denver. And again, a lot of my friends in Texas were like, well, you don't know anyone there. What are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. And it's right. So I've always known that there's something right. And if I don't follow it, it just is such a bad feeling. It just is like, petting a cat backwards or something. It's like, ugh, it's not good. And so and I can't hide that for very long, or I can't sit with it very long before I need to act on it. So that's.
So you're actually talking about listening to your inner knowing, your intuitive nature, which may or may not make sense to anybody else.
Yes, that's very true. And I think perhaps some people let those voices talk them back and hold them back and make them second guess and all of that. And I tell you, whenever I have stepped into my yes, I've been supported all along the way. Because I don't let the headiness get to me. It's just, I'm going to land on my feet. I always have. Why wouldn't I? Type of a thing.
Yeah, I know that well. I mean, there have been several times in my life, some of them, where I've been called to do something that made no sense. and it's like, okay, we are going to leap out here and hope that something's going to catch us, but what I love about you saying that is, and what I want the audience to know is, you have encoded in you this extraordinary intuitive nature. And if you begin to hone it and listen to it, and I'm sure your spirituality and your classes and the growth there helped it, hone it even more, but I guess what would you like women to know about how to tap into that knowing and really listen, not second guess it?
I would say practice this. When you get a hit on something, whether it's wear the green dress today or take this route to work or whatever it is, listen to that and experiment with it. And experiment with it with an open mind and an open heart. It's like, let's just see. This could be great. Let's just do it. And I think by starting with the small things and then holding yourself accountable to the bigger things, because often we will look back and say, I knew that. I should have done that a long time ago. Don't let that time pass so much. Really practice with the small things and just notice how coincidences and serendipities just fall into place to the next step and that person you might meet and the job opportunity. And also, it might land you in some fear, and that's okay. Sometimes, well, I just believe fear is just the unknown.
Mhm.
So why not sit with the fear and say, okay, so I'm sitting with fear and I will still move forward.
Yeah, it's so funny because many years ago, I wanted to buy a house and I was living in LA, and something told me to get in my car and drive around the area I didn't even know.
Oh,
And there was this like turn down this street, and I turned and I looked up and there was a sign that said for sale, and it was a duplex. What I didn't know is that they had just put the sign out. It was exactly in my price range.
oh
And it
wow.
was, so that listening, that practice thing is really, really important. And it's been beautiful to watch you listen and to continue to move.
Thank
How
you.
do people find you and how do they find your classes?
Well, I have a new website up. It's been up a few months now, and it's ericateel.com. And in that, you'll find the menu, you'll see classes, and I'm in the process of classes right now. And it's just been a real blast. And I feel like since I've opened that, I feel like now I've really landed in my classes without sort of thinking about what's the next gig coming up. It's I'm here. And so it's been really great. And the people that are signing up are just, like I said, some are terrified, some are enthusiastic, and we make it through pretty well. So I've got classes going on this spring. So yeah, and I've got some openings.
Yeah. Well, and what I love is when I read your bio about you making people feel welcome
Mm,
and warm and safe, that is absolutely accurate.
thank you.
So I asked the same last question.
Okay.
This show is called Women Awakening. What's the one thing you want women to know about the importance of their awakening?
I would say that awakening is a process. It's always, we're always evolving, always awakening. It's not just a one thing and you've got it. Um, and I would say the awakening, if you look back on your life and you look at this thing led to this thing, led to this thing, led to this thing, and some have been great and easy, and some have been very difficult. Look at how you've awakened over your life, and take the gifts and remember that time that you stepped out and it was scary. And remember that time you stepped out and it was fabulous. Just remember those times and build on that. We have this sort of timeline of a life. Look back on it and remember and keep going forward. Keep saying yes. It's great. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, ladies, you heard it. Keep saying yes. Erica, thank you for being here. I'm so excited for you, and I'm so excited for all the people that take the leap to come in and open to their brilliance, just like you did in Alan's class.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cynthia. I adore you. You've been one of my greatest teachers for so long. I so appreciate you. I love you, and I love your work and what you are doing in the world as well. So thank you, sister friend.
Thank you. Okay, ladies, I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell you every week. You are fabulous. You're amazing. You're miraculous. In fact, you're a miraculous unfolding and a masterpiece that is being painted and sculpted in this moment. All you need to do is say yes. Yes to life. Yes to love. Yes to freedom. Yes to harmony. Yes to grace. Please come back every week and be inspired by these women so that you can take your next step into your greater yet to be. We'll see you soon.